Welcome back, you Disneyfied nerdians. I'm, of course, your host, Micus Gius, aka Mike G, the Maleficent One. And with me is my also host, MOTN alumni. He has a Letterman's jacket, but he gave it to a significant other from another mother. This is Wash.
Yo, what up? In fact, my Letterman's jacket is, well, it does probably not exist anymore, but it was buried under a mobile home last I knew.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Did you have a Wizard of Oz situation, Doc? were
Well,
you whisked away, Doc?
you know, it's a long
Circumstances.
story. It's a long
Circumstances.
story.
Can you imagine like seeing like a 55-year-old like Dorothy? It was like, yeah, I used to have a Letterman's jacket. Tornado took it. So what happened? It's a long story, man.
I hadn't actually considered what you said until and I'm like, that's actually pretty funny. That could
Yeah,
have happened. You know what I mean? What
yeah.
happened to your Letterman's jacket? Ah, well,
Uh, how much time you got, baby? How much time you
one
got?
one day I looked up and
And there we were.
so,
And next thing you know, you're in a poppy field falling asleep that you may not wake up from.
dude.
Is that a K hole? Did they fall into a K hole in the Wizard of Oz?
I mean, God knows what happened in Wizard of Oz. Like the actual honest to God truth. I mean, you watch Pink Floyd in Wizard of Oz and it'll change your life. And, that's just one version of that movie.
Man, speaking of fever dreams, we are here to talk about our top 10, which
Top
is
10.
MOTN top 10. Been going long and strong and down to get the friction on for like what, 7 years now? We've been doing these top 10s, of various topics and content. And today it was Wash's bright idea to say, hey, Disney Plus, we need to talk about it.
Yeah,
Top
dude, it's about
10.
time. Like, how long has Disney Plus been rolling out content now? And, don't get me wrong, we talk about them individually as they roll out, but they are quickly forgotten as a whole and it's moved on to the next thing. But at the end of the day, as a network, like, what is the body of work that we're discussing? When we talk ABC, you can go Lost. NBC, Friends, Seinfeld, I think. Fox, Lord knows, The Simpsons. You guys
X
just hit
Files.
that a few weeks ago. So,
Hmm.
like, let's do it, man.
Perfect. So we're going to be doing our top 10. The way this goes down is that Brian is going to pick his top five. I'm going to pick my top five. We're going to put them against each other, and that's going to make a top solid 10. Now, in top 10s, anything goes. There may be doubles, there may be triples. We may see eye to eye on certain things. I know we're going to argue. It's going to be great. I hope you enjoy it. Before we get started, I do want to ask everyone to like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoy this content and you want more top 10s, just let us know. If there's any topics you would like to talk about, drop us a line, and we may do them under the scrutiny of the Notiverse. So you've been warned. You ready to get this party started, my man?
Yes, and if you have any comments on what I have to say, please comment. I will take all the heat on this list.
I think this is going to be an interesting list because Disney Plus into itself. Before we get into our list, it's been such a hit or miss thing, in my opinion. It's either you have gold or you have coal. It's really like the Krampus of experiments. Shout outs to the Underrated Movie Podcast, where we talked about the state of the MCU. We talked about Disney Plus, and we called it I think I called it an experiment. You know what I mean? Like, how can we rearrange TV watching as much as possible? You know,
And it is an experiment. I mean, now they're doing live specific 24/7 like Star Wars networks. Well, hold on. So you have Star Wars running 24/7, but then I can just go watch any of them right here as well. Like it is a bit of an experiment in television. So, kudos to them. And I'm here to discuss it. But
let's
yeah, Disney
let's
Plus.
Disney Plus. Let's talk about it. So let's go ahead and get started on this list here. No more lollygagging, bro. Let's do it. So number five, five, five. Playing yourself.
Number 5. Explain yourself. Here is the deal.
Oh, it's a
Um, as I created this list, I found there were very few perfect series. You know what I mean? Perfection. Lost, just as AKA. And, with each one, there was a tad bit of a drop off, and then the drop off got gradual. I found that Loki was the end of like the second tier, like high end, crisp cut as a whole series. You can nitpick, but overall, this series, top to bottom, and you know, I'm sorry we're not actually going to get that last scene in film. That I wish we
Hey,
would.
who's to
That was
say?
awesome. Uh,
Who's to say?
Jonathan Majors, Disney, it's not a really good relationship right now, but we'll see what happens. Overall, though, Loki season 1, perfection. Loki season 2, eh, Loki season 3 brought it back and they ended on a high note. And overall, I I enjoyed this series. So I do have full disclosure. In this list, th- this was not necessarily enjoyment. This was top to bottom. So I believe my number 4 is a series that I picked, but I didn't necessarily love the series and want to go back to the experiment again. But Loki overall, yeah, that's a winner 100%. And the storytelling, acting, costumes, magic, Loki, all A, all A.
Absolutely. I will have more to say to this later in this episode, but what I will like to harken back on what you said, it's that it's not perfect, but it's damn near close. It's a really solid outing from Marvel on a character that I think fans love, but really educated on. You know what I mean? He's meant to be duplicitous. He's the god of mischief. You know what I mean? So it's like you're
It's in
not
the
really
name.
knowing. It's in the name. So learning more about him and having the opportunity to dedicate so many seasons and so much time on him, I think just strengthens his character. But I'll go into Loki a bit more later.
And this
Yeah,
was not a series that I was excited about when they announced. When they announced Loki, I was like, why?
same here.
Uh,
I
Really?
get it,
Is it
but okay.
necessary? Like,
Yeah,
okay. So, kudos to Disney Plus, Marvel Studios. This is one of the hits in, their body of work. If you were to go, hey, I'd like to recommend something, yeah, go watch a Loki.
can't go wrong with Loki. Can't go wrong with Loki. My number five, five, five. Forgot it existed, didn't you? Freaking Hawkeye, dude.
Explain yourself.
Explain yourself, boy. I'm even wearing the colors, dude. I fucking love this series. I love this series. I went in with the lowest expectations possible. Because I don't necessarily like Hawkeye as a character in the MCU. You know what he is? He's like the dusty kid in Peanuts who's just around. You know what I mean? He's just over there being musty and
Pigpen.
dusty. Pigpen.
Pigpen.
He's
Yeah,
Pigpen.
Pigpen.
Thor is Thor, and Captain America is kicking ass. Iron Man is listening to Iron Mate. Black Sabbath. He's just around with his little bow and arrow, Legolas. You know. But the thing that caught me was that I love Kate Bishop. I love Hawkeye. And when I found out that Haley Steinfeld was going to be playing her, it piqued my interests. And I was just like, and I also like the David Aja, I think it's Ed Brubaker run of Hawkeye, where they created the character. Shout out to David Aja. He got paid. I don't even think he got paid for any of the stuff that happened in Hawkeye, and it's all his aesthetic. It's all his
Wow.
design. It's such a shame. But that being said, I love this series. I thought it was fun. I thought it was exciting. It was a pleasant surprise. They brought back White Widow and Yelena, and it just made you love her character even more. She is a star, and she steals every single project she's in. I want to see
Yeah,
Thunderbolts because of her.
yeah,
You know, she
yeah,
literally just steals the show,
yeah.
and she's just a ball of energy. You have the pizza dog. If you read the book, you know why he's pizza dog. It brought back, and you know what made me love this even more? It brought back the kingpin, and that opened a whole new floodgate because this was the series that reintroduced the Netflix characters into step in line with the MCU.
And this was like number two of their initial just, hey,
Early
we
an
have a
idea,
network and this is the second project we're doing. Scarlet Witch being the first, I believe, and then
WandaVision.
Hawkeye,
Hmm.
and then everything after that. So early and good.
Early and good. And the last thing I'll say about Hawkeye before we move on is that they're getting a season two. I want to know more about Kate Bishop. I just love her character. I want to see her in Young Avengers. They introduced Echo, who's dead front and center. She eventually got her own show. You know what I mean? Echo's a cool character. She becomes a Phoenix at some point. I doubt they'll do that, but she is a developing
Maybe,
character as well. Maybe, who's to say? But
maybe.
I think this is my number five because it really took me by surprise and I was not expecting to dig it so much. And I'm going to rewatch it again because it's Christmas, and this is a
It,
Christmas watch. So
and
why not?
that is one of the things I was going to give it a plus on because it is not on my list. And but the Christmas thing that they have going on, it's a feel good show for the holiday. Strangely enough,
Isn't it weird that Christmas movies have a certain miasma about them? Like if you watch,
yes,
it can have nothing to do. Like Gremlins has it. You know what I mean? Die Hard has like a Christmas vibe around it, and in this series embodies that, and it just makes you feel good.
it,
It's literally dopamine right into the brain.
love it.
Love it. Let's go. Number four. No needs for explanation on this one, but take it away, Brian.
This was not it, folks. Yeah, no, I love this series, and honest to God,
Kenobi.
I, I wanted to go number one when Mike's like, "Hey, let's do top 10. What do you want to do?" And we decide on Disney Plus. I was like, "Oh, Kenobi's one," and I had to stop for a couple of hours, really, to move beyond um,
That
this
initial thought.
show. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a show that just stays with you. It is perfection of what I wanted to see of a broken Obi-Wan Kenobi show that I was not expecting to ever get. And if they make a season two, which God willing they do, um, I'm all in on it. So um, the reason it's a four and why I moved it down a bit is there are there are some issues with it, right?
Hmm.
But upon my, I don't know, sixth or seventh viewing of the entire season, those issues quickly kind of go away and you really get the heart of this character. And when you think about like what this character's gone through, what he's been asked to do right now, and where it goes in the future, I I thought, nah, this is good stuff right here. So yeah, Kenobi.
I'm happy you put this on this list because it didn't make my list, but it was like it would have been number six, honestly. I have a Kenobi Vader right behind me. You see them all looking all crazy. I love this series. I love how it bleeds episode three into episode four. And I feel like Star Wars' whole mission statement now is filling in the gaps while they plan the next big thing. And Kenobi feels like a filling in of the gap. And like you said, seeing this broken down, has used the Force in years, Kenobi now have to be a protector again, be a Jedi guardian again against the foe that he thought would have never happened. And that's the trippiest part. You learn that he didn't know Vader was alive. He thought Anakin was dead the whole time. And that's crazy to me. And that's like he
Anakin's alive.
Anakin's alive. And he actually tries to reach out in the force and they find each other. And Anakin's like, I'm gonna F you up. Just when I see you, it's on sight. And it's
And
like,
it's so good.
ooh.
And when it happens, it's so good and satisfying and fulfilling. And even how it ends, it's like, well, because look, they could have messed it up.
They could have
right?
they could have easy and like you said, this series got a lot of backlash. The series got a lot of hoopla, but I think above all of that, they could have messed it up so easily. But the parts that were important, they nailed. This series
Nailed.
has my favorite Star Wars moment in all of the entire trilogy of everything. This series has my favorite Star Wars moment, like
You can
acting.
expand.
Yes, my favorite Star Wars moment is Obi-Wan apologizing to Anakin pretty much. Teary-eyed. I felt that I watched that scene maybe 50 times, bro. Like I resonate with it so much and you just feel for the guy. He doesn't want to fight me. He's like, I am so sorry, dude. For and and I wanted to kind of clear this idea with you. I was thinking about it last night that Darth Vader never really had to intention to kill Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, or Luke. I don't think he ever had the intention to actually kill them ever,
No.
because deep down inside he still cared about them. And it showed, and my theory was proven in this series, because Anakin cut him bail. What's the line? You know, I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. Cut yourself some, brother. This is not your battle to fight. Let it go. And he did. It is such a closure. Forget the fighting, forget the force. Two brothers, you know what I'm saying, just really connecting.
Again,
And it's my favorite scene of all time.
uh,
In this, I will never
I
forget it.
will not argue any point on any of that. It's perfection.
I'm
It's
welling up right
perfection.
now. It's
It's
like,
perfection.
fuck yeah.
And, it was hard. Not like that. It took a minute to move off of one.
Yeah.
It took a minute to move it off of one. So the top three should be all right. Hey, looks like a rewatch is coming.
Rewatches, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it coming. I feel it coming, baby. Shoot. Number four. Number
Ooh,
four. Surprising. This isn't a DC Marvel cuddle puddle here. We're mixing things up a little bit. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, my number four. I've never talked about this to anyone. I can see Bride's face. Why is this
I,
here? Right?
folks,
I
I am shocked.
some okay. Some kids were Harry Potter fans. Some kids were Lies and the Witch and the Wardrobe fans. Some kids were Twilight kids. I was a Percy Jackson kid. I read all the books. I was Percy Jackson out. I loved Greek mythology. I loved God of War. I loved the idea that these were kind of like god-like mutants on Earth. The demigods were kind of like the X-Men in a weird way. And each kid was like a descendant of a god and inherited their powers. It was all super cool to me. Camp Half Blood. I wanted to be I wanted to be a demigod of Poseidon too, because I like the water. And when the movies came out, I was absolutely enamored. I love those movies. Introduction to Alexandria Daddario, if you know, you know.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying? I was just smitten with this. And when this was announced as a series, I was like, let's effing LFG. Let's effing go. This is one of those things where it needs to be brought back every once in a while.
Honestly, not on my radar. How many episodes did they do?
Like 8. Like it was like a
8.
solid series, like a solid, very well done season one. That kid they got to play Parsi is adorable. He does a great job. You know what I mean? They really stick to the source material a little bit better than the films. The people they get to play the gods. If you're a wrestling fan, Edge plays Ares. It's amazing. It's really fun. Um,
Okay.
and I would recommend this to anyone who's even remotely interested. Season two is being filmed right now. I'm so hyped. This is a little guilty pleasure for Mike G. I would never. If you want to talk Percy Jackson, I can talk it all day. I love this shit.
Did not know any of this, but I will absolutely check it out. I am familiar with the movies, but no, was not on my radar at all. And 8 series and Disney hits. One day if we do a miss list, the miss list, there's a big drop off. So it's
Yep.
good. If you're in the hit list, you're really good. You're really good.
Yes. I love this. Love it. I can't rave about it enough. Can't rave about it enough.
Oh, I know what number three is. Oh
Number
God.
three.
Ah, for the love
Number
of God.
three. Number three.
Honestly, folks, like if you
Uh,
ask, hey, what's your favorite Star Wars, thing? This is close. This is in the running. Bad Batch, number three, love it. 6, 7 times on Kenobi. I've probably watched this entire thing now at least like 13, 14 times. This team is fantastic. I find myself doing the music. I find myself saying all the lines.
Tick.
Boom,
Tick and Rekka.
boom.
I love you some Tick.
Yeah, Omega,
Omega.
Omega. That
Omega.
voice acting, animation, story. Don't even get me freaking started on the story because you know what? No one asked for Star Wars: The Bad Batch. And fun fact, this was apparently George Lucas's final completion part to what his vision was of the story. So
That
I
makes
found that to be
sense.
super interesting.
I
And
didn't know that.
also, it does make sense. And it's like, oh, well, all right, there you go. So, folks, if you were sleeping on the Bad Batch, don't. Don't. I
Please
have a
don't.
friend who's a Star Wars fan, but they don't like animation and they refuse. And I'm like, you are missing, like,
Okay.
I cry. I cry at this series at least like 3 or 4 different times. And tech, I was damaged for like 3, 4 days in real life. I
I
was walking
remember
around like,
I was Brian's emotional support animal for like for like he would just text me. That shit ain't real, right? I was like, bro, it's real. I think it's real, dog. I was
dude.
like, I had to walk you through the process, bro.
And the final scene stays with me as Hunter's just sitting there by the as a person who's a tad bit older at this stage. You're like, man, damn. And then you're watching the youngins go out and do like all the heavy lifting, and the best you can say is, if you need me, we'll be there.
We'll be there. Can I have a
Perfection.
confession? I have a confession
Yes,
to
sir.
make, Brian. This was my number three, but for the sake of diversity, I changed it. And I said, you know what? I'm a clear out and let Brian have this number three.
Well,
But
then
please
please
know that
expand
this is
on
my
it.
number three.
Like,
So
expand on some thoughts.
me and Wash have known each other for quite some time, and and you've become a Super Saiyan when it comes to Star Wars, like leapfrogging
Thank
me
you.
by many many light years to much I respect. And Wash is constantly giving me a murderer's row list of things I need to digest as a Star Wars fan. One was Clone Wars, one was Rebels, the other was Bad Batch. I'm a stubborn man. I don't always listen. Brian, he will tell you. So it took years
Years.
for me to be like, ah, whatever. I don't, I don't care about clones. I'm not a clone guy. I'm more of a Jedi, or I don't care. So Brian, so Watch is just like, dude, watch the effing show, or I'm going to sock you in the face. I'm like, okay,
Well,
threat,
he would text
threaten
me
me with it.
questions
I would
in
text them
regards
questions
to the
about
Star
just watch
Wars
it.
universe. And I'm
It's
like, dude,
answered here,
all of your answers are right there. They did
there,
like an entire show, man, and it's
based upon what
awesome.
you're asking about. And it's like, what happened exactly after episode three? Right? Where'd the clones go? What? Just watch the show, Mike. And I, when I tell you that this is what my favorite animated Star Wars anything, and I don't want to be so hyperbolic because I just said that about Kenobi, but damn, this show is good. It makes you care for every single character and their foibles and their strengths and weaknesses. Um, uh, Omega being such a pivotal
Omega.
Star Wars character. Um, uh, oh, um, um, not Hunter, the sniper. Please, his name is
Oh,
John.
for the love of God, Hunter,
Right,
Wrecker, Omega. For the, why did that
Hunter,
just happen to me?
Hunter,
Um,
Tech, um, uh, fuck, fuck. Why can't it? Deadshot? No, that's a DC character.
oh my God.
Um, But you know what I'm
Yeah, it's
talking
not.
about, right?
Yeah,
That we're the worst
yeah.
Star Wars fans ever. We're gonna get so much shit on that.
I am
But
so upset at myself right
yeah,
now.
but
Um,
look it up real quick while I keep
yeah, go
talking.
on.
Uh,
I am.
he is such a developed character in this
Hunter.
series.
Yeah.
Hu-
No, Wrecker,
No,
Tech,
Hunter
Echo, Crosshair, Crosshair,
Crosshair. Thank
Crosshair.
you, Cross. I love Crosshair because he's like the Vegeta of this group. You know what I mean? He's gone from reluctant hero to flat out villain to anti-hero to damsel in distress. You know what I mean? He went through
Huge arc.
and it's just like, why can't all of Star Wars be this good? And like by the end of all things, the team is not is not where it is where it started. And you see a grown Omega ready to conquer the galaxy, and a proud Papa Hunter is just like, I can't hold you back. I can't protect you. You just got to go and live your life. Like it just kind of it brings you to tears a little bit. It's like it solidifies how great this series was handled.
I am not
It was
ashamed. I
handled
cry.
so well.
Yeah.
Bad
Disney
Batch.
Plus hit. Like
I
hit.
cannot stress enough how important the series is, and it's such a small story. Is that these guys didn't rearrange the galaxy. They didn't topple the empire. You know what I mean? They just were trying to survive i- in a universe in a galaxy that no had no use for them anymore. They were experimental defects. They were the Bad Batch, literally, but they made it their own. I love this fucking. I've learned to appreciate clones so much more because of this
Yes.
series. I
Yes.
want to talk about it more, but we have to move on. But needless to say, this was my number three of top three Disney shows of all time. Just putting that out there.
Nice.
But I had to give props. I've been doing a lot of talking, but I need to talk about this series. Talk about a point to the Babe Ruth, point to the rafters. This is our mission statement series. This is the very
Yeah.
first Disney Plus show.
One of one.
Um, one of one, WandaVision. It is quite an interesting take on a Marvel event that I would have never thought they would have went with. Wanda Maximoff is quite literally one of those god characters in Marvel that can literally reality warp, do anything. And to create her to be almost like a villain this entire time, but because she's famous and she's an Avenger, and you forget that she's kind of psychotic. You know, and she kidnapped the town and reality warped into her bidding. She resurrected her, I don't know, dead
Damaged.
husband, android. She resurrected him. She created children from nothing. You know what I mean? Like she created this whole universe because she was so much. Because at the end of all things, nobody was checking in on her, and she was suffering from trauma from Endgame. And it's like this is a really demented story, but because it has the glaze of Disney on it, it's fun. And I liked really sitting back and thinking about it, and like, and even afterwards, everyone was like, "Yeah, that stuff down over there was really messed up." And a lot of people are still traumatized by it. The town is still in wreck because Wanda did her magic, and people were kind of trapped in their own heads, like on some Get Out stuff, where they couldn't control how they were feeling. Wanda was controlling it through her through her hex power. And I love the transitions between like eras of television, going from I Love Lucy to the Brady Bunch to Malcolm in the Middle, for Christ's sake, you know. So they really had a lot of fun with it. It made you feel like Disney Plus could be anything. And I think that's the main thing, my main takeaway from this series. It really gave a sense of whimsy to the MCU, to where like, yeah, they can really have fun with this stuff if they just let go. And of course, Agatha all along. I mean, Agatha became a household name. As a Marvel fan, you would have never told me that Agatha Harkness would be a household name. But that's the power of
No,
this writing.
And full disclosure, as a WandaVision person, I watched the first 4 episodes and went away for a very, very, very long
It's hard to
time.
get into.
It
Hmm.
took years for me to finish this series. And then one day I turned it on and I watched the whole thing and I was like, oh, you know what? That wasn't bad. But full disclosure, Agatha was my number 6 or 7.
Hmm.
I had to cut that out. I don't know if she's on this list or not, but I loved what WandaVision did with that town, the city, the storytelling, and how they somehow, again, hey, we're going to have a network. WandaVision's our first, what? And then have expanded to make Agatha a thing.
A
And
thing.
Agatha was
Agatha's it's like a
great.
F tier character in Marvel. She's somebody's grandma who's somebody's grandma. You know, so having
Better be
children
careful.
sing, she's somebody. She's baby's mama's mama's. She's somebody's baby's mama's mama. And having her be a household name is just the power of Disney. It's the power of this great writing and introducing the twins, which I thought I would never see in live action. Wicked and Speed, her actual like conjured children, and having that going to be potentially becoming a spinoff. They're talking about a Wiccan show. So just the strength of this series alone kind of was couldn't have been a better foundation for what Disney Plus became. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
I
they
don't,
got a
yeah.
Vision show coming as well. So
Vision
you're talking like another season.
four
Four?
series that birthed from this one idea.
Yeah.
Can't beat it. Can't
No,
beat it.
great job.
We're getting to the thick of things. It's getting sticky. It's getting
It's
sticky.
getting rough. Yes.
Uh, let's see.
Oh. Oh, okay. All right.
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm, mhm,
I
mhm,
am a
mhm,
Star Wars nut, right? We all
mhm,
know
mhm,
this. I have watched all of the Star Wars animation multiple times. Here's the thing. I have
mhm,
watched X-Men 97 one time.
mhm,
One, and it's number 2.
mhm,
This thing is perfection on the animated level.
mhm.
Storytelling, animation, sound, drama, emotion. I felt it all watching this series. I was a fan growing up as a kid, used to watch the show. I did not expect them to be able to replicate my enthusiasm for dun 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 dun, and they did with every single episode. I was sitting there dun 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 dun, and the reason it's
Mhm,
number
mhm,
2,
mhm,
the
mhm.
reason it beats a Kenobi, the reason it beats a Bad Batch is because those other 2 series, perfection in their own right, they're minor little small flaws that, for whatever reason or not, you know, it it takes it down a notch. Whereas X-Men 97, it doesn't have any of that. And I had to admit it. I didn't necessarily want to put this at number 2 because, I'm a Star Wars guy. There's got to be something else out there. But I had to be realistic,
Mhm.
especially with the themes that they tackled in this as well. Disney Plus, congratulations. This is a hit.
I will talk about this is very cryptic, but I will talk about this in further detail later as we are at number 2. Take a guess where it is on my list. Um, that being said, this is what I will say for right now for this because I would like to give my 2 cents on your pick here at number 2 is this is the unspotted lamb, dude. This is like this took over the world for the world. Remember when the world was at peace when everybody was playing Pokemon
Yeah,
uh,
go.
Pokemon Go, and wars stopped. Everybody just
Yeah.
had fun running into the oceans, getting their
Yeah, I was like
Lampworths
walking
and
off
shit.
cliffs and stuff. Yeah, I got
Yeah,
you.
people were at peace when this was out. There was no like clickbaity arguments. There was no tick tacky. There was no woke whoop de whoop. Everybody just universally loved it. In every
Said, damn.
episode, we were all in our seats. And I will say more because I'm shaking right now. But what I will say is that this being at your number two is well warranted. This
Yeah.
is a hell of a series, possibly one of the best animated outings from Marvel ever. Ever. Like pushing past probably one of the best animated outings of anything
I-
ever. Batman the Animated Series fan here saying that. Like as
when you
just
talk
animation.
complete series,
Complete
as
thing.
of right now, right? We don't have a season two yet. So as a
Right.
season one goes, which leads to my number one pick and why it's there is just because of what they were able to do with the length of it. Dude, if you can do this for another 2 or 3 seasons, you quickly separate yourself from all animation.
But sad thing is we know that's not gonna happen.
Unlikely.
Thank you, Mr. Showrunner, who decided to literally show his ass. Anyway, my number two. my number two. My number two.
Oh,
My number two.
oh!
Number
I
two
didn't
Disney
think
Plus
it'd be
shows.
on here. I honestly
Yeah.
didn't.
No, no, no. Low key, bro. Low key, low key, low key. We talked about it earlier. That this series is one of those that it's not perfect, but it was perfect for what we needed it to be, and that's really just a dissection of this character, um, who was introduced at the very beginning of the MCU, um, Slate One or Stage One or whatever, Phase One, whatever they call it, Loki Luffy's son.
You remember
And
when it mattered? Oh,
remember what
phase
phases
two.
mattered?
Yeah.
Remember, remember when it mattered? Marvel
Anyway.
is no, they've dug themselves such a hole. Jesus Christ. Uh, Loki is one of those villains that is just I think he's like a Doctor Doom levels of curious to where most of the times he's wrong, but he feels right. Almost like a Hannibal Lecter kind of event where he's not necessarily on your side, he's on his side. And if his side happens to be on your side, then he's on your side. But at the second that those trains split, he's gonna stab you in the back. And to see his growth of this Loki, because we all know there's multitudes of different Lokis out there. And this Loki is not the Loki who died at the hands of Thanos, right? That
Thank
was
you.
still a conniving jerk Loki. This Loki literally ascended to a new plane of godhood within these seasons. And you see his growth, you see his interactions with himself. You see his interactions with multiverse versions of himself. Got the introduction of Enchantress or Selvi, which is an interesting take on a different Loki. The TVA, which was once again marveling and making a F tier concept into a household name.
I'm like, no one wanted the TVA, and what did we just watch? Deadpool,
Deadpool and Wolverine,
F filled with TVA,
billion
and it's
dollar movie.
oh well,
TVA,
no one was
Loki,
asking for this. In fact, when it happened, we were all like,
and say
eh,
what you want about King the Conqueror, before
ah.
Fit hit the Shan, he was being set up to be a pretty nice big bad. Ant Man and Quantumania aside, this series is putting the fear of God in you for Kang, but there is certain missteps that are beyond this series' control. Um, that
I
being
like
said,
Ant-Man.
I like. Hey, I'm not gonna fight you, dog. I,
All
I
right,
like it too.
that
I'm
movie
not gonna
gets a
fight
lot
you.
of hate, and I'm like, all right,
It's fun, man. I like the actor who played Kang. I like him. I thought his
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors. I thought he did a good job playing multiversal versions of himself very, very, very differently. You
And
know,
and and I think this is where what was set up in this that we're assumingly not going to get anymore
gone. Yeah, it's probably just
takes away from what this is, because I think ultimately had they been able to really finish what it was that they were building and starting, we would look back on this and be like, holy
more
smokes.
fonder.
Right.
Yeah,
But now even the way it ends, it feels almost like an incomplete project that's just never going to get its
this could
completion.
have
So
been number one if they stuck the landing. And that, and mind you,
Yeah,
Disney was in a rock in a hard place. And they have a, and
had to do something.
we were just talking about this last night on After Dark, that they literally jumped the gun when they fired James Gunn, right? And there would be no Superman trailer unless Marvel pulled the plug on him because of the accusations and the drama that he was going through. And Marvel eventually backed down and hired the man back, but the die was cast. It was too late.
Hmm.
Same situation with Jonathan Majors. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like they pulled the plug on him and they pretty much sandblasted his career. Truth came out, the guy's walking around free. You know what I mean? And now they've shifted to, and it's almost like, when you break a bone, or you can always kind of feel that breakage no matter how much it heals. This series is so close to greatness, but you can feel the bone break,
Yeah.
and it takes away from it. It takes away from its strength. It literally took the wind out of its sails. You know what I mean? And it's still my number two because I love what they did with it. I love what it meant to the MCU overall. I love the impact it had. I love Tom Hiddleston. I think he is one of those actors who is that role. He's Robert Downey Jr. He is Christopher Reeve. He is, Ryan Reynolds for that matter.
If you were handing out, and I was thinking about this as we were been having this cast, like if we had our Oscars for Disney shows, right? Like best picture, best male actor, like he's right up in there, man. Like you the
Yeah, clap, golf clap.
because
Uh,
no
what
one
else do you
wanted it.
want from
No
this
one
man?
was expecting it. And you coming off the movies, it's like what are we going to get?
Get
Like what's left? And he just nailed it. Just nailed it.
right.
And it's like,
He
oh,
knows it, and
hey,
mhm.
and shout out to Owen Wilson because he nails it too.
Yeah, he
So
kills it
shout
too.
out to
He kills it
Owen
too.
Wilson. So yeah.
And we mentioned Yelena. He's one of those guys who just steals the scene whenever he's in the scene. You know what I mean? And Owen Wilson gets props for standing next to him and holding his own. You know what I mean? He's one of those actors where it's like, oh crap, I have to act against him. He's gonna act circles around me. What am I supposed to do? I'm stressing out. He's one of those guys where it's like, oh,
But
you know,
much like what's his name? The Samuel L. Jackson's sidekick. What's his
Nick,
name? Uh,
Colson.
Colston. Much like Colston, with all of these actors, right? His character does not necessarily fit in with what's going on, but he nails it. Even though he's a
Yeah,
fantastic actor, don't get me wrong. But he nails he elevates that character to the other characters' levels in that show, same as Owen Wilson did. So yeah,
yep. My number two. I think this series
number
is
two.
amazing. I think it deserves that number two spot amongst Disney Plus shows. And I hope we see more of this Loki. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what their plans are exactly for Secret Wars or Doomsday or whatever they got planned going. But I hope the God of Stories makes an appearance again. You know what I mean? It would be
I think.
nice.
I
Marvel.
mean, money. Ding.
Money. Speaking of so much money, we're about to hit our number ones, bro. You ready for
Number
this?
one.
Ready for
Number one. Yes, I am ready for this. Do, do,
Dun dun
do,
dun dun dun
do,
dun
do,
dun
do, do.
dun 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 dun.
So I told you it took a couple hours to come off of Kenobi, and it really did. And then I was just cruising around the house. Just I hadn't looked at a list or went to Disney Plus. I was just trying to think in my head what resonates. And then I was like a bolt of lightning. I was like, oh shit, Mandalorian. Yep, done. We're over.
Mhm,
Not perfect, right?
mhm,
Not a
mhm.
perfect series, but what they did with the show that no one, again,
No one
bravo
asked
Disney,
for,
because
no
all
one
your
wants it.
hits seem to be shows no one was asking for, no one was looking for. And everybody's like, why is this being made? And it's like, well, this is dope, man. And from season one, season two, season three, to the end, Grogu, Force, whole ball of wax, introducing young Luke. Like this show does so many
Mo-
freaking
thing.
things.
Reintroduction of Ahsoka, live action Ahsoka, bro.
I love this
Crazy.
show so much, and
The
the
Dark
music
Blade.
is fantastic. Acting, fantastic. Action, fantastic. There are the nitpicks, just a few episodes where it's like, man, that just kind of felt phoned in. But the greatness of what was introduced being said, they're making a literal movie called Mandalorian and Grogu, if you did not know. Um, and this being their first feature film since episode 7 or episode 9 tells you exactly
Where they're
what this show is and what they expected it to be. And so for me, after I went off of Kenobi and I thought about Mandalorian, for me, there was just no other answer to this show. And I, I, if we were doing like a movie top 10, I'd have to put this in an all inclusive. This might be like right up there with Endgame for me.
man. One thing I want to touch on is, and it's really you notice like our top three are all what? Why are they doing this series? Like why? Like because there's certain series that would be just home runs. It's like no brainers. Let's make an Incredible Hulk show. Let's make a Iron Man show. Let's make
Yeah.
a you know, and it's like, but and I think these are so well done. These are so well written, so well produced because these are true passion projects.
Let's go back to the well with live action Clone Wars shows. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? They didn't do that.
easy hits. Easy
Easy
hits.
hits.
You go with the Bad Batch. What is that? You go with the Mandalorian. Who is that? You go with Loki. Okay, he's dead. Why are we talking about him? You know what I mean? Like they're going with these characters in these situations that are fresh content. And as fans, we like the familiar. We want to see the people we know, and they're taking so many risks with shows like this, with the Mandalorian, because no one could have
Not
gave a shit easily.
No, and not to mention introducing Boba Fett. And the reason I bring up Boba Fett is because I generally do a cycle of watching, and I just got done with my latest run of Clone Wars, Rebels, and Kenobi. So this tier, or whatever's left, includes the Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Resistance, Tales. Boba Fett is a really good freaking show. And this is about my fourth watch through of this. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, you know what? After you get past what you don't want, which is why am I watching Boba Fett in the sand dunes with sand people? That's not what I'm looking for. Once
Hmm.
you get past that, you're like, oh damn, this is good. Whereas Mandalorian doesn't have that.
No,
Mandalorian, you're like, oh,
I get it.
I don't know what this is, but I
No, I
love
get
it.
it. Yeah, I get it. Mandalorian is a Mike Tyson punch in the mouth 35 seconds into the fight. You you're down. You're okay. I'm down for whatever you guys. This is a
Yeah,
western, has western vibes. This guy never takes his mask off, which is always an interesting trope I love in the series because it gives you a sense of mystery to the character. Baby Yoda took over the Earth for about 2 3 years. You know what I mean? And it was just
probably
a
still
culture
could if they
if
do
they did something
something.
with it. Yeah, cultural phenomenon. Um, reintroductions of beloved characters. Reintroduction of a lot of Clone Wars people. She's right on the front. Help me, Star Wars fan. What is her name? Right, the holding
Bo-Katan?
the Bo-Katan. Clone Wars, right?
Bo-Katan Kryze.
Bo-Katan Kryze.
Yeah.
Um,
Bo-Katan
uh,
Kryze.
live action Bo-Katan. Live action Ahsoka is huge, bro. Um, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Luke.
D-
S to the KY. you know,
Still, like, and
I'm still tripping out
I
about
think
that.
it's taken for granted because
Yeah,
they just showed them and have done nothing. But we got young Luke
we're
Skywalker.
doing young Luke shit.
Hello?
What?
What?
We
What?
got myth of the Jedi, myth of the Force, ultimate badass, young, fresh off of Return of the Jedi, mastering his skill, black cloak, taking out these, and it just reminds you that Jedi and Sith are just on a whole nother level
Oh, new level.
of
Yeah.
being in the galaxy. This didn't make my list because one, I had a feeling you're going to put it on here. I went for the sake of diversity, and this would have been like a 6 or 7, only because I wasn't really a fan of season 3. Um,
Yeah.
I think that was kind of, they kind of leaned into Grogu a little too hard on that, but they, you know what I mean. And it started steering away from the Mandalorian, and I hate when Family Matters becomes the Urkel show and not Family Matters. If you pick up
Yeah,
what I'm
I
laying down.
understand. Yeah, man.
So, but season 1 and season 2 are ironclad in my opinion. Moff Gideon, even though he
Moff
was kind of like
Gideon.
a villain of the week, I think Giancarlo Esposito did a great job being that villain. I just think by season 3 he kind of became a cartoon character. If I was to be a little bit critical of it, and um him dressing up like a Mandalorian, even though he's not, and wearing the Beskar armor, cool toy, but not. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to the general plot. If I had, and that's the only reason it
It
didn't make my
still
list because
doesn't
season,
when you think about it. You know what I
not
mean?
really,
He's cloning
looks
himself.
cool.
Empire, you know what I mean?
Empire,
It's not, they haven't filled in the hole. We don't know what Mandalorian Grogu's going to be. At least
E.
I have
I
no
have
idea
no
what
clue.
they named it, and I went, look, this is my number one. They named it, and I went, what? What are we
What?
doing?
What?
But
Okay,
you know what?
still great
I
show.
seem to say that a lot.
I, I mean, nothing, and that's the beauty about. I think one thing fans nowadays need to realize is that something, because something's beautiful doesn't mean it's perfect, and that perfect is the enemy of perfect's the enemy of good. You know what I mean? Perfect's an illusion. Nothing is perfect. There's anyone can hide within the shadow of a doubt. Nothing's going to be perfect.
There are very few Sopranos, and even Sopranos like ruffled feathers with how it
Rather
went off the
feathers.
air. You know what I mean? But it's like there are very few perfection type shows front to back. As you say, to stick the landing. It's one
To
thing
stick
to
the landing.
blast off, fly through the stars, but can you
You
stick the
the
landing? And a lot of
landing.
folks can't. The
A lot
lot
of folks
that
can't.
last season, those last 8 episodes, whatever it may be, it just falls off. And so I understand, but for me, when Grogu comes in and is saving, that's I'm actually on the last episode of season 3. Uh, that completes for me like, wait,
Yeah,
what
we're here.
what
What?
what why is there a second Yoda now doing things, and where are we going?
And where
So
are we going
yeah,
with this? But we'll
love it.
see. That's us fans wanting to know, but not wanting to know. We want to know, but we really don't want to know. You know what I mean?
No, if
We
someone
want.
came out and told
It's
me
not.
the plot
If
of,
someone told you didn't show you, you'll be upset. Hey, Brian, here's
yes,
the script for season 4. You'd
yeah,
read the hell out of it, but you'll be upset that you couldn't experience it.
yeah,
So I think that's
for
just
sure.
the fans. Number one, I think we all know
Wait,
what's coming
before you
here.
do that, I just want to say, stop giving me 8 trailers and 17 clips of your movie before it hits. Thank you.
Stop spoiling these movies. We get it. We're not sheep. You don't have to feed us the entire movie. Thank you so much. I'm talking to you, Superman. Even though I love that trailer, I've watched it 20 times, but I'm
Please,
talking to you, Superman.
please,
I'm
one more trailer.
talking to
That's
you,
it. I
Superman.
will. I
Yes,
don't
sir.
want to see anything
I will
else.
cut you. I don't want to. Please don't. I will cut you. Violent threats. Don't do it. Just let me enjoy the movie when it comes out.
Thank you.
Sorry. But that being said, I didn't know Gambit was going to be in Deadpool.
I was like,
Spoilers.
clip
Oh,
of Wesley Snipes. Oh, all
well, they
right.
didn't spoil the entire movie.
That's
Fun.
funny.
Funny.
Anyway, number
Number
one.
one. Number effing one. Da, 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 da,
Yeah.
da, da, na, 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 na. Okay, here it goes. Number one, with a bullet, was never any thought, was never, I didn't think about this at all. It was number one, and what else? Mind you, me and Brian are around the same age. Brian's a bit older than me. This is a running joke on MOTN. Apparently he was around during with the creation of electricity. While I was still a thought in my great great grandfather's balls. This is the joke, right? But I am old enough to have been a '90s kid, and I grew up in '90s watching X-Men in the year 1997. And when I tell you that the X-Men were a thing, the X-Men were a thing. The X-Men were the end all be all cartoon, comic book, movie kind of like microcosm of brain explosion medicine juice. It was literally everywhere. Old school heads will remember Pizza Hut. Remember the personal pan pizzas that gave out copies of X Men #1? I do. Remember, you know what I'm saying? I'm going into trenches. Remember the remember the X Men arcade game where you got to play as
Yeah,
Wolverine, Dazzler, Cyclops, Colossus. You go, huh? You would do like
yeah.
that's the noise, dog. Like X Men, you couldn't tell anyone anything about the X Men, especially the animated series. Before Batman the Animated Series, I want to say 1992 that was Batman, but I think it was
92?
around. I think Batman was 92. The animated series, I think X Men was like 91 or something. Fox Kids, there was X Men before there was Bat. I could be wrong about that. You can fact check me if you like. But all that to say is that when I heard they were doing an X Men 97, I was extremely critical. I was like, there's no why, leave it alone. There's no point. Leave my nostalgia where it is. I don't because I'm not going to look at this rationally. I'm going to be
So
hyper critical of it.
we have a different effect of why are you doing this? It's why are you messing with what is already
Why are you
perfect?
why are you going back in time and telling me my dad was an astronaut and he wasn't? Stop going back in time and ruining my mind. Like I'm feeling like I'm being attacked by Charles Xavier over here. Leave it alone. Leave it where it is. I was very critical. And then I saw the animation style. I was not sold at all. I was kind of upset. I was like, leave. And I'm not one of those nerds who was like, "You've ruined my childhood." No, I get it. But when you call yourself X Men '97 and you're bringing back as much as the voice cast as you possibly can, that is throwing down a nostalgia gauntlet that my spirit could not handle if it was bad.
If I walk outside and I call myself Shav, someone is going to expect that I am a bad mother. If I am
Exact.
not,
There's problems.
there's going to
You
be a
you may
problem.
there's going to be problems that will come your way, and that was
Yes.
X Men '97 threw down the gauntlet, bro. And I was just like, if this f's up, I'm never going to forgive Disney. Leave my stuff alone. Make whatever you want new. But when this came out, and I tell you, and I called it earlier the unspotted lamb. It's such like a blasphemous, but at the same time, you find a fault in this thing. I can't. I can't
It's
find a
hard.
single. I can't find a single thing wrong with it.
It slows down for a total of about 30 seconds where you have a second to think and be like,
And then it
is
hits
this
you again,
really? Oh, well, what?
bro.
Yeah.
Bro, it's. I remember being me and Watch were talking, and Watch was out of the blue. He was like, "Mike, why does anybody ever talk stuff about X Men '97? People talk mess about everything nowadays. That's just the culture." I said, "Well, Brian, you can wear whatever you want when no one can beat your ass. You can wear whatever you want when you know you're the baddest mf'er in the town." And it's like X Men '97 is so perfect that no one could say any disparaging word against it, and not for any particular fear, but for love. Like you said, there's very few shows that garner that kind of respect and kind of admiration. It's like, why aren't we doing that type
If you,
series?
it's like if you told me you're remaking Silverhawks, I'm like, great. They remake Transformers every other
Every
day. You
the
know what
remake
I
Ninja
mean?
Turtles every generation. You know what I'm
Every
saying?
generation. Like they don't touch X-Men
Man, especially,
97.
and it's one thing to remake X-Men because we've had X-Men Evolutions, we've had Wolverine in the X-Men, we've had our X-Men stuff. But when you throw down a gauntlet and say, we're making Batman the Animated Series 2,
Yeah.
no, just that. It's like, come on, man, you're joshing me. You're not going to do this right. From how they handled my boy Cyclops, who's my favorite X-Men, to Gambit, remember it, to the destruction of Genosha, to the Easter eggs. We got to see '90s Spider-Man again, even for a moment. Captain America was in this series, bro. It's just
The Super Friends.
it's for perfection. It has to be my number one. It's just the most. It's the saddest thing in the world because I know this will only exist in a bottle. Because they're going to make more and they're not going to be as good because the showrunners are all out of it. And the main guy, apparently the brainchild of all this thing, literally decided to lose his mind and he's no longer attached to the series. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to put it out there. Look it up if you want to look it up. But it's the saddest thing. It's like, man, I love Roman Polanski. He's such a good director. Wait, what did he do?
And look, Disney
Wait,
was taken back as we talk about Disney Plus. Disney was like, "What? But
what were
money?
you doing?
How many people have signed up? Wait, how many people?" This was like the number one streaming
Show
thing for
thing
a minute.
for its entire run. People were waiting. People I
Yeah,
know, not to talk about this stuff, were talking about it at the water cooler. People were like, "Man, the new X. Have you heard X-Men '97
yeah.
is amazing? Man, it's like nostalgia. It's like I'm 10 years old again. Man, I literally have X-Men. I have 1/6 scale Cyclops and Wolverine on my desk right now as my homage to X-Men '97. I'm looking at them literally right now, and it's just like X-Men, dude. Number one, I can't think straight. I'm irrational when it comes to this kind of stuff. My my nostalgia just takes over. I can't rationally think about this stuff without just nerding out. And I'm sad because I know that this is a once in a lifetime event that no matter how they try to replicate it, the Pepsi is just not going to taste right. It's going to be anything but, and it's just for it being number one, it's bittersweet. You know what I mean? To me.
Yes, yes. Yes, but good
It
number
hurt.
one. I gotta back you on everything that you said, and if you're putting up X-Men '97 versus Mandalorian, I actually, because of the flaws that are in Mandalorian, you have to ride with X-Men '97 and kind of a versus bout, like just stacked next to each other because it's one season of pure D. Damn, that
You know,
is awesome.
how I'm going to rationalize this, Brian? It's kind of like you ever watch Cowboy Bebop, the anime, one of the
Yeah.
best animes ever made. Cowboy Bebop is one season, and it's a condensed season of perfection. It reminds me a lot of X-Men '97. Can't argue Cowboy Bebop. You know what I mean? But there's also Dragon Ball over there that has a trillion seasons, and they're all ups and downs. But universally, Dragon Ball is good. Universally, Mandalorian is good. We're awaiting new Mandalorian stuff. It's almost like you have to compartmentalize them in different buckets. Like this is the best steak I'm ever going to eat, but all the food here is good. But this one place only makes this one steak, and I only eat the one thing from this one place because I know it's going to be perfect. Everything else is kind of mid. That's how I feel about X-Men '97. It's like I know they're going to do more, and I know it's not going to be on par. And maybe I'll eat these words in the future. Maybe they pull it off. I don't know. But from my understanding of how this situation went down, and from my understanding of how these things work, that this is going to be that lightning in the bottle, one take Jake type series that I'm just going to hold close to my heart and just kind of be that final last season of the '97 show that I loved so much as a child and rewired my neurodiverse brain to how I think today. Because this was one of those, man. Gargoyles, Batman the Animated Series, X-Men, Spider-Man the Animated Series. It's just like formative content. And I think this did that and then some because the writing was sharper. The animations was the final Genosha. The animation for the final Genosha was insane, bro.
Yeah.
Gambit risking, Magneto sacrificing his life pretty much. You know, it's just Storm getting the Storm episodes, Love Song. I think it was what was it called? Love Song or something like that.
Love
Where
song? Yeah.
where she was with Forge.
Yeah. That or bird
No, Life
song.
Song. It was like it was
Is there
called
a
Life
bird
Song or
song?
something. It's like Life Song or something like that. It's actually the name of the series in the comics. I can't remember off the
Okay.
top of my head. But it's just such good writing, such good animation. Every character gets their time to shine. Wolverine and Nightcrawler fighting the Omega Sentinels in the mansion, and you got to see Nightcrawler pull one into a Bamf. And you got to see the interdimensional shift when he teleports. Amazing stuff, dude. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
The-
so 3 out of the top 10 were animation.
what does that tell you?
It's interest
What is that?
it's
What does that
interesting.
say?
You
What
know
does that
what? I
say?
found the entire conversation to be enlightening because like we bring back to, the point like Disney Plus, like what are they? What are they producing that is great? Like what because they take a lot of heat, man. They take a lot of heat and I don't not going to get started on Acolyte or the nonsense that's gone on with Acolyte, but it's a show. And we didn't get to see the show in its full what their
What
vision
they?
of that show would have been. So that could have been in here. So, when we talk about this list and what we didn't expect and what Disney has hit out of the park, it's pretty impressive to me. It's
I
pretty
think
impressive.
I echo what you say, Brian, because I think Disney Plus into itself was literally their experiment kitchen. It was their test kitchen to see what fans will tolerate and what fans like and what fans dislike. I've said it from the beginning. Disney Plus gave you everything. It gave you comedy crime dramas. It gave you teenage angst shows. It gave you horror one-shot anthologies. It gave you literally, you know, this like you said, the misses, right? She-Hulk, but someone consider a miss. I love it, but some would consider a miss. The Acolyte, big miss. You know what I mean? Some consider Miss Marvel a miss. Secret
Moon
Invasion,
Knight
Moon
miss.
Knight. I like Moon Knight, but
I
I'm just
actually thought it was going to be on your list. I actually
no.
kind
It
of
was
thought it was
almost
going to
there.
make your
It was
list.
almost there,
It,
but
it was almost all right.
it came between Moon Knight and WandaVision, and I was like, nah, I like WandaVision better. And Percy Jackson just had to be there. But I think I like the idea of Disney Plus continuing to give us what we don't want, if that
Uh,
makes sense.
you know what? I
Because when it
next time they
hits, it really hits.
next time they announce something and I go, "Why are they doing that?" I'm gonna be
Have
like,
an
"Oh,
open
that's
mind.
gonna be awesome."
Have an open mind.
Yeah.
I was so down on Bad Batch. I didn't give a shit. I didn't care until I sat down and watched season one. And I was like, oh, this is freaking active. Season two, season three. Oh, this is really good. Oh no, what about tech? Like I was locked in, bro. Um, Agatha all along wasn't that bad. I had zero expectation for that show.
I I
I went in
wanted
with
to
an
put
open
it in.
mind.
They,
Uh,
I was thinking about that show, walking around singing that song like in
Yeah.
Walmart, and I'm like,
Down,
how in the
down the
world
witch's
has
road.
this happened? Like,
I don't.
what are we doing?
What
Oh,
are we
shout
doing?
out to Catherine Hahn. You're
Catherine Hahn,
amazing.
beast,
You're
beast.
amazing.
Yeah, she's a beast. She has that entire company in the palm of her hand right now. She can do no wrong.
Like if you ask like best woman of Disney, like I have, she's gonna be in the running because
And
what she
she's gonna
did with that
be.
role, amazing.
What If comes out this week? Like the new What If. We didn't even talk about What If.
I
It didn't make any of our lists.
it was there. It was Agatha and What If for me. I was close to putting What If on here simply because as a whole, like that first that first season was special. That
Hmm.
second season was not as
Yeah.
special. That
Yep.
first season was
Goaded.
freaking
Goaded.
special. So yeah, that's why I didn't ultimately make it. It's just as a whole, it dropped off.
I think. I, I think that we're slowly getting away from streaming. I think streaming kind of ruined all industries as a technological advancement. It's ruined the music industry, and it's ruined the movie industry. It's ruined
I
the
mean,
television industry.
I,
I
I,
just
I want to say I don't want it in video games, but man, it's way
it's
better
coming.
than buying them
It's
at
already
60 or
here.
70 pop. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
remember the days of having the one game, like, a blockbuster, and you got one game a
bro.
year. That was it.
I pay for my ultimate Xbox Live. I'm playing 76, and after that, I'm going to play Cyberpunk, and after that, I'm going to play Indiana Jones, and after that, and it's just all part of that subscription. I can't beat it. But what I mean to say is that I think Disney Plus is a necessary evil. You know what I mean? Because it allows them to be creative and allows them to give new things that aren't tied to so much big heavy budget. Let them experiment. Let them get things wrong. Let them, because when they get it right, you get Agatha. When they get things right, you get Grogu. You know what I'm saying?
And
And
all of these shows have branching tentacles. So it's like,
yeah,
you think about those top 10, there's probably at least 10 to 15 more active shows coming just based off of those properties.
those
So,
the fruit from these labors
yeah,
are still being felt throughout the company. And I think it's
for
important for them to shake the apple cart every once in a while and not give us what's expected, give us the unexpected. And you can't tie that to a movie. It's too much at stake. You know what I mean? So give it to a TV series, give it a little three off. And next thing you know, we're all singing Witches Road and we don't know why. So any final thoughts on our list? How do you feel about the list? Do you feel it's
I
a,
think
you know what I mean?
that solid list, I'd watch any one of them right now.
I
Solid
if you
list.
solid list, I concur. If you haven't seen any of these shows on this list, I recommend all of them. They're all because of the nature, they're all quick watches. They're all of these series outside of like maybe Bad Batch or maybe even The Mandalorian will take you a weekend to clear. You know what I mean? Just pick one. You can watch one in a weekend.
Folks, and we're coming to a close, but I do have to ask Mike this question
Yes,
based on
sir.
his earlier statement regarding Kenobi. So, out of the top 10, if you could take one moment from the top 10, who wins? What wins?
Oh, it's between. That's such a hard fucking question, dude. You put you in the hot seat, brother. I put you in the hot seat, brother. Uh, in my mind, it's fighting between "I am not your failure," Obi-Wan, and Rogue crying, holding Gambit, saying "I can't feel you." Literally had the Earth crying when Gambit was dead in that crater, and Rogue was touching him with his skin, and she wasn't absorbing him, and she started crying, and the screen goes black, and she says, "Sugar, I can't feel you." And we all were like,
Yeah,
"No, Gambit,
yeah,
no!"
and
It,
broken. Like
we had to wait a
I,
week after that.
I had my beer, like I was like in the middle.
Bro, I was mid pizza bite. I was like,
Yeah,
that was my face.
yeah.
No, man. Not making me feel stuff on a Friday night. So if I had to choose those, and you're making me pick my children, dog. It's like comics versus literally comics versus Star Wars,
Well,
And it's like
I, I am
I
going to concur. Oh, go on, go on. You're
going
gonna
to
pick.
settle with "I'm Not Your Failure," Obi-Wan. That was my moment. That's like my moment of the year and my moment of all Star Wars history. Whereas that was a good Marvel moment, but not the best. If you would ask me, like, I am Iron Man,
Yeah.
right? You know,
We actually did a
Thanos
top
snap.
10 on this before, right?
You
Top
know,
10. Go search the archives, folks. Top 10 Marvel moments, I
they're
believe.
there. They're there.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose between the two, I literally cry. I teared up during that scene because I felt I'm an empathetic guy. I feel emotions. I feel other people's emotions. But and when Ewan McGregor was acting that scene, and you could see them both just cutting the crap and leveling with each other, I've never felt anything like that, dude. From Darth Vader, and it made me love Vader even more. It made me love the complexity of his character that he still had enough, not even good in him. He had enough Anakin in him to be like, man, this is not your fight, bro. I don't want you to feel this way. We can kill each other if you want, but I don't want you to feel this way because it's because your feelings are misplaced. And he told him that as from a brother to a brother. And that I'm tearing up right now, dude. That's a good
I am
question.
not going to argue. That is, if I had to pick out of all of it, that's going to be my one because that scene was. It was not, again, we talk about X-Men 97. Wait, you're going to put Kenobi and Vader on screen again? Wait, what
What?
in the
For the
blank
first
are you
time ever?
doing?
First time in forever?
This isn't supposed to happen technically in canon. Like, what are you
You're
doing?
changing
And when it
canon.
happens, it's like,
It
oh,
conceptualizes all of A New Hope.
it,
They don't
it's
have to meet ever
heartbreaking.
again. They don't
And in the Clone Wars, like
explain so much.
that
They
that one scene encapsulizes all of the emotions through, we're talking like 15 years of what their relationship has
bro,
been.
why would Obi-Wan be disingenuous with Luke? right? Why would Obi-Wan allow Vader to strike him down? Why would Vader work this way? And it's like that moment conceptualizes that entire relationship. And it's like, yeah, like it's because Obi-Wan really felt that way. You're Darth Vader now. My friend is gone. So when I tell Luke, when I tell Luke that your father was killed by Darth Vader, he meant that shit because Vader told him his damn self. And for years, that was people's gap. Why would he lie to Luke? Why did he just tell him that it was his father? He told him the truth.
I'm
That
sorry,
blows my
Anakin.
mind.
I'm sorry for all of it.
I'm sorry. Tears and eyes, dude, lit by his lightsaber. I'm sorry for all of it, man. This was all my fault. I am so
Dope.
uh, dope, dude. And
Dope.
it totally
Best
flames their
moment,
friendship.
Oscar.
Oh my god. I can't talk about it enough. It's uh, uh
Well, folks, I want to
this has
hear
been a
your comments on all of
yes.
this.
Let's please let us. This episode went a bit long, but we're both passionate about this stuff, and I would love to hear about it. Tell us your favorite Disney Plus show. Were we wrong? Was that scene ass? I want to know why. you know, I
Please
will. You
bring
could
the
be
heat.
wrong. Bring the heat. You could be wrong in the comments. That we accept that. Just don't be rude. You could be wrong, but don't be rude.
Correct.
Um, this has been MOTN Top 10. I've of course been your host, Mike G. Once again, Wash, you're the man, dude. Much
Thanks for having
appreciated.
me. It's been a great time, and look forward to the next one.
On to the next one. All right, Nerdiverse. This is MOTN signing out.